Cool.
Hi, I'm Willie from Fungi Ally here at Sugar Shack Mushrooms with Elisa. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, so excited to have you guys.
Yeah, you want to tell me a little bit about your farm and what's going on?
Yeah, we're pretty small. It's, just myself and my husband working here. He's not here today, but we grow seasonally, kind of change what we're growing with the weather a bit, but we're growing oysters and shiitakes, chestnuts, lion's mane, black pearl, and sometimes some turkey tail and reishi as well. And I'll show you guys around, but we do everything out of this barn. We have a lab in the barn, and we grow mostly indoors, but we grow shiitakes and a few other things outdoors. So kind of experimenting with that right now. But yeah, we're pretty small. We sell at a farmer's market. We have a small CSA that gets just mushrooms from us, and we also wholesale a little bit. So kind of hodgepodging it together.
Fun.
Yeah.
Great, let's go take a look.
Yep, this is our bagging area. We keep all our substrate material here. Yeah, we've got wood pellets here. We kind of go back and forth between using local sawdust and wood pellets depending on availability. And then this right here is some wheat bran. And I'll show you later what our bagging method is, but we dry bag, so we put in the dry ingredients and then the water, and then we put it into our sterilizer, which is
Have you always done the dry bagging?
When I first started, I did I would pre-mix it, but it was like such a pain in the butt, and it was when I was just experimenting and it was making like 8 bags at a time or something.
Right.
I never tried doing it like on the larger scale. It seems like you'd need a lot of space, or I don't know if I have the set up for that, but this has always worked really nicely. It's very tidy.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely.
And have you used other supplements other than wheat bran, or?
I'm using soybean hulls too. So we do the wheat bran for the shiitakes, and we use the soybean hulls for everything else, basically. But I've never added the others. Like I've never gotten my hands on gypsum and stuff like that to add into the recipes. But I'd like to try that.
Yeah. But
just keep it pretty simple, with like the 80-20% for the wheat bran and sawdust, and then the master's mix of the 50-50 is what we do right now.
Yeah. And you're making 10-pound blocks?
Doing 10-pound blocks mostly that we're fruiting off of, but we make 5-pound blocks too, because we sell grow kits and some sawdust spawn sometimes, and nice to have some smaller bags fruiting for demos and stuff.
Yeah. And
then we make our own grain in 5-pound bags with just oat grain usually, just because it's the easiest to get around here. I'd be curious to try getting some rye and Milo and stuff like that I know people are using.
Yeah.
But do you know the benefits of different grains?
One of the big things, like with millet or Milo, some of the small grains, is that you get more inoculation points by the pound.
Of course,
I know that's one of the things.
Yeah.
Is like an advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to try that. That'd be interesting. We recently started experimenting. I feel like I don't even want to jinx it, but it's been working really well. We started putting our grain, just doing like 6 or 8 bags of grain in the bottom of our sterilizer instead of in the pressure cooker, and that has so far been working.
Cool.
Which has been awesome, because for us, keeping up with grain production is the hardest part.
Yeah.
I had rigged up this automated setup for a pressure cooker to run with our timer and stuff, but it just took forever and it's always breaking and stuff. So that's been one of our biggest challenges. We've been really ramping up our production in the last few months, and so keeping up with grain is the hardest. So that's been a pretty exciting development, it working in the barrel.
Yeah, so that's that atmospheric
Yeah, that's the atmospheric steam. Yeah, exactly. So it's not pressurized, but it's the bottommost layer, so I think it's hottest for longest. And we run it for 16 hours. But that bottom layer is probably at temperature for almost like 20 hours or something.
Wow.
So I think it's practically sterilizing it at that point.
Cool.
But we've gotten really lucky with it so far, so that's been a big development for us. Pretty exciting. So nice. I still am like scared to jinx it. I don't want to like say it's really working, but we're using it.
It's mostly working.
Yeah, right. Mostly working. Exactly.
Don't let the mycelium here.
Yeah, exactly. Totally. You guys want to go into the lab and we can see the sterilizer it's just talking about? And turn on a light, which sometimes works. Our lab is in here. Come on in. This is our mighty barrel sterilizer. We're thinking of building a shrine to it because we love it so much. It's like, it just broke the other day, but got, figuring out like having heating elements on hand and stuff to just like always fix it. It's a little bit less scary than it once was.
Yeah.
It's like totally screw up our schedule when they break. But yeah, this thing's almost at temperature. We just switched out the cook this morning, so this is hot. You can probably see steam coming out of here. Maybe. It's probably too hot to see steam, but this thing's at 190 here at the top, so and the grain is all the way down here, so I figure it's been at temperature for a long time now.
And this is a barrel that you made?
Yeah, we made this whole rig. So this is an 85-gallon stainless steel barrel that has a false bottom in here, probably 10 inches up. And under there is a ball float, like in the toilet, and it keeps the water at that bottom level, and just a big heating element. So it's really like a water boiler. Yeah. And then we just fill it all the way up with substrate. It holds about 300 pounds of substrate at a time. So we do like 30 10-pound bags in there at a time or so. And we usually run it like anywhere from 3, 4, maybe 5 times in a week if we're really going at it. But usually 3 or 4 cooks at least a week. But it's been really good to us. And we unload it right in here, and then we wheel it over here and load it up with our finished bags, and then wheel it right back in here.
Great.
So it mostly lives in the lab, except for when it travels out to the bagging table. And then everything just cools in here, which these are unloaded this morning. So these are ready to inoculate now in here.
What temperature does the barrel usually?
200. Yeah, we've got it usually at about 200. I think maybe the timer kicks on at 199. But I think 200 is what I've had it mostly at. I don't know how much hotter it could really go. What is the boiling temperature, like atmospheric? 212, right? Yeah. So it's like we could push it a little hotter, probably, but it'd take a while.
Right.
How hot have you run yours? Because you were doing atmospheric steam, right? Yeah.
We were getting 203, 204, but and then it would like drop down to 195, and it would like oscillate in that range. Yeah. So I think around 200 seems...
I was thinking about experimenting with upping the temperature just because the summer, it's like so much more contaminants going on. Like maybe pushing it up to 203 or 4 like that. But this is still set from winter, which is obviously not winter anymore. But I think I've had it at like 200 all winter, and we were like, knock on wood, we were so lucky. I had like really great, almost no contamination this winter, which was a big change for us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So hopefully we can keep at it this summer.
It's kind of like, don't change anything.
If that's what's working, exactly. Yeah, totally. We've been really lucky. Totally. And we've been using I used to do the whole process of like the petri dishes to the jars to the bags of grain and stuff, but the last probably 8 months or so, we've been using cap and stem spawn and just expanding it, and that has been, their stuff is such great quality, and it's really helped because like I just don't have time to keep up with that whole long process of keeping all those jars on hand, and it's just such a lengthy process, and then if you screw it up, it's like you're so backed up.
Right.
So that's been really nice. We use them to I kind of substitute their spawn for my jars and just expand it out and keep some of their stuff on hand, and that's been really great.
So you expand their spawn one generation and then do that into the sawdust bags.
Yeah.
To production bags.
Yeah, so expand it into the oats once. I've expanded it more than that, but it seems kind of like asking for trouble. It's like maybe superstitious and just do it once. It's like, seems like a good enough deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Don't need to stretch it further.
Right.
Yeah, so that's been working really good. And this thing is this is our flow hood cranking away here. There's a light on it if you want. I don't know if that helps, but yeah, we've been quite lucky with the setup. We usually clean the lab like once a month, and that's been pretty good. I can get lazy with that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, this is an old horse.
This is an old horse stall. So everything's just plasticed over so we can keep it all in. And I mean, I think we've gotten really lucky with a pretty bare bones, dirty setup. Yeah. Because I mean, we're obviously in this barn. There's no way for me to keep everything out, but do my best to just try to like, if not like take a shower and like have clean clothes that I wear when I'm in here if I can, and that kind of thing. And attempt to not go back and forth between the grow room and here, but inevitably we end up breaking those rules too. Right. But definitely not when we're inoculating or making grain. So far that's pretty good. But keeping the animals out of here, cat and the dog, they're a problem.
Yeah. Gotta have boundaries somewhere.
Yeah, totally. They know. You can't come in here now. Yeah. Totally. But yeah, this is where it all happens, and then we do I guess we'll inoculate later and we can look at that, but I usually do the inoculating. My husband's on the shaking team. He's mixing the bags, and we have a cart that we pack everything into and roll it into the incubation space. Nice. So it's all pretty low tech.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we can roll into incubation?
Yeah, totally.
Check
Let's
that
do it.
out.
We're always running out of incubation space, but right now there's actually some room in here, shockingly. So this is where everything lives. We're kind of in like a switching around zone, so there's actually room in here right now. We were talking about like the biggest issue for us is getting backed up with shiitakes. Yeah. And like we did used to have them on these racks in the middle, but they don't like being moved around, so then we were doing the Tetris thing of having them like back in the corners and stuff. But I'd love to ask you a question later for that, but we've had some issues with like splotchy colonization on the shiitake blocks, but we also had like really variable temperatures, I think, in here and stuff like that. But mostly it stays really nice in here. In the summer it can get a little hot, and we occasionally run this air conditioner in here. But mostly, like right now, all these fans blowing cooler air down in here really helps. I guess it's 75 degrees in here right now. It doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, it feels cooler.
Yeah. So this is kind of an experiment in figuring out how to move the air around in here a little better. Yeah. But doing that. In the winter, this is like the best chore, coming in here and checking bags. It's like the space heater almost never turns on, and the bags just heat this room up because it's so small, and it's not even obviously that well insulated. It's a very patchwork job in here, but it really stays toasty in here. It's so nice.
So you barely need supplemental heat.
Supplement until heat. Like I think it kicks on a little bit at night or like on the coldest of the winter days, but during the day, it's like just real toasty in here. Wow. Cool. It's really nice. So I love coming in here and feeling the hot bags in the winter. Definitely.
Little hand warmers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, nice. So nice. But yeah, we just roll everything in and out.
And how long are bags typically in here?
I guess it depends on the variety, but at this point right now we're really kind of switching to mostly doing only oyster and shiitake. We are still inoculating a little chestnut, So the oysters are in here for like 2, maybe 3 weeks at most. And then, you know, the chestnuts take a little longer in my experience. I feel like they take like 5 weeks-ish for me. I'm still figuring those out. And then the shiitakes take like 10 weeks, so those are the longest. And so things have been moving pretty quickly in and out of here right now, because this is kind of switched to all master's mix right now, so it's pretty fast. We're just waiting on the shiitakes here and here to clear out, which they're getting there. Yeah. And then there's weird abandoned reishi experiments here that we were really running out of room, so I was starting to seriously throw things aside. But these guys should probably put outside. But yeah. Normally we have another rack in here too, so we can fit quite a few bags in this small space. I forgot what the number was, but I think we can do like 700 in here or something like that. It's kind of crazy.
And it's like 15 by 15 or something? Even
smaller. I think this is like a 12 by 12 room or something.
Wow.
You really pack them in.
Wow.
That's because we added a 7th shelf to the 6 tier shelves. Okay. And that obviously adds a certain amount more blocks per the space.
Right.
So that's been great. But of course we're already outgrowing it. I'll show you guys, we have a space in the back of our barn that now we're incubating shiitakes outdoors for the summer season.
Yeah.
So we just set some out there now. Of course it was like 45 degrees this weekend.
Yeah.
But, so hopefully they're okay.
Yeah.
But we just started putting them out there last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so trying to like get ahead with our whole backed up incubation space and just like make as much shiitake as we can right now while we have outdoor incubation.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on. We can go check that out if you guys want to see it. Go check out the Shiitake Cave. Yeah, this is our overflow desperate Shiitake Cave. Last year we had pretty good success with it in here. It gets very little light back here. This is like north facing, so there's just like a teeniest bit of morning light sometimes, but that's really all. It's pretty good. We definitely pushed it last year. We had a few batches in here too late in the season, and they all pinned like early, just with a few cold nights in the fall. So we learned our lesson, because that was like, we were hoping for those to be like our Thanksgiving shiitakes, but that was obviously pushing it too close. So they all pinned early, probably in October sometime.
Yeah. So
we're still trying to figure out like what the limits are to when in the season can we be incubating outdoors.
Right.
And it's a pretty short window really, because of how long they take. So
like June to September.
Well, it's so, yeah, exactly. So it's like working backwards for us to figure out when can do we stop making bags to put out here, because like in September then they'd be out here till November, and then we run into that same problem. We kind of want all our bags to be like finishing by September, I think, in here.
Right.
Just because then you get that cold night and they all pin at the same time.
It's almost like the end of June the last batch would go.
Yeah, exactly.
Here.
I think that's kind of what we're thinking. So the next like month, basically, we're kind of upping our production so that we can take advantage of all this space while we have it. Because after that, we've been basically kind of we're at an impasse of deciding whether to build a second incubation room somewhere in the barn or to just get away with incubating some in our house without letting it take over our house, which it did this year. So we have to find some kind of like balance of maybe it's fine and we just grow a little less and have it in some of the house and let it be, because I don't love the idea of like buying so much more foam and insulation. And I mean, it's not about the investment, but just like it's just building this other foam box.
Right.
It feels like I'm not sure if we need it.
Yeah, and this could work really well into the like taking a break in summer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just inoculate shiitake bags.
Yeah. Right.
Not fruit as much.
Yeah, exactly. Just let these all incubate while we take our summer vacation, and then come back and open them all.
Yeah.
So I don't know, trying to find like what actually is sustainable. and being cautious of outgrowing ourselves. I've been a part of farms where we outgrew ourselves really fast, and it was very damaging to all of us and not a good way to live. So really trying to walk that delicate line and seeing like what's the comfortable amount of work to do, like either without hiring someone or maybe someone just part-time help or something. But we're definitely experimenting with that. It's only just recently that my husband left one of his teaching gigs, so he has like more time now. So we're kind of splitting the hours more, because before it was like I was doing probably like 35 hours a week or something, and then this was like his third job, so he was like pitching in when he could, maybe 10 hours or something. But so it's been interesting to just divide up labor and see what it would be like if we did have another set of hands and stuff like that. So this summer is definitely the summer of experiments regarding that.
It feels so important as like the business grows to have some level of like, oh, remember why I'm doing this, and what that balance is, and not just the like normal like bigger, can get lost in that.
Totally.
Easily.
Yeah, it really can. So I really talk with a lot of other friends who are like small business owners and farmers, and talking about like, how big do you really need it? It's like I think our culture presses everyone to think that it should just grow forever. But I'm kind of into working backwards. Like, what are my bills? And then like how many mushrooms I have to grow to pay the bills. I guess it doesn't always work that way, but that's kind of like the attitude that I'm interested in. I'm like, I don't need it to be this mega thing. And outgrowing like the means and the space that we have and stuff. So it's definitely easy to do that, especially with farming. Like, if we just build one more greenhouse and then one more this and that, could make all this money.
Endless.
And never sleep and have a bad quality of life. So that's definitely a lot of the conversations going on this summer here. Trying to figure it out.
Great.
You guys want to see the grow room? But this is our grow room in our greenhouse. This greenhouse was kind of hodgepodge together. It was an old carport that we fixed up with a bunch of salvage material, and it was definitely designed for winter use. So there's some experimenting involved with like making it work better for summer. In the winter, it's amazing because we get all the passive heat here, and that's mostly how we get like free hot air for the mushrooms in the winter without having to run a lot of heaters and stuff. And it's great because the hot air gets sucked up from the top in the winter from that pipe sticking out, and then all the exhaust blows out here onto our plants even in the winter time. And we actually, I should show you a photo. We had a really fun, we did like I used that plastic corrugated stuff and built this like closet right here. I think we talked about that idea. So we had this like plastic Shiitake closet that had like 3 racks all along this part of the wall, and it was just getting all the heat and humidity from the exhaust.
Wow.
And it was amazing. We got tons of shiitakes out of there probably until January. It probably would have kept going too. I mean, they slowed down a lot because they still got cold. But they just like grew and grew. The bigger problem was we had a mouse explosion, and they just like, it was like a mouse hotel. They were just like eating the blocks. So I had to get rid of it just to kick the mice out. But I think they would have kept growing like straight through, because even like I had abandoned it after we took it apart, and it took me a while to get to cleaning, and I had blocks in there I forgot about that were like these corpses of blocks left from the mice that had amazing mushrooms still growing on them. It was crazy. And it would, it freezes in here. We don't heat the greenhouse, so it was interesting to see their limits. It was really cool.
I've had shiitakes like fruiting out of the snow. Before. It's like
they would totally do that.
Oh, the cold is fun.
It was amazing. It was very fun and interesting to see what their limits were. I was really hesitant to bring the shiitake blocks into the grow room just because they're so messy and take up space, but we did eventually do that, and we have some in here now. But now we're also like got all of our fortress defenses up on the bug situation here.
Yeah.
You can see all of our fly paper everywhere. It's pretty gnarly, but we are very dependent on it. Trying to keep them out. They still get in, but we get whoever we can before they get in. And the exhaust is like, we have like a whole fortress rigged up there. You can see a fungus beetle walking on the Rime right now. They're just like everywhere.
Yeah.
We learned the lesson the hard way. Last year we had a really bad infestation and we had to just like throw everything out and start over.
Right.
But it was before I really knew what was going on.
Yeah, the like exclusion of the fungus beetle is really important.
Oh my God. Yeah, look at them. They're just everywhere. They're so bad. Yeah, last year we also had a weird spring. It was freezing cold and then all of a sudden it was hot.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't take the time to prepare for summer.
Right.
And then, so we didn't even do any covering of any of our ducts and stuff. And then all of a sudden, and I had never dealt with the fungus beetle. I was like, oh, these are all right. They're kind of cute. Like, at least they don't look gross. And then I was like, oh my God, they're everywhere.
Yeah. You're everywhere and they're spreading mold.
Oh God. Yeah, so bad. So it's like definitely the most, I feel like we live in fear of these tiny little bugs. Just like has to have some kind of lesson in itself, but definitely that's the biggest problem. But let's go in here and check it out. You guys wanna come on in? I've been struggling a little bit with the equilibrium in here, but speaking of the bugs, will you close that door, please? Yeah, there's not tons of mushrooms in here right now because we just harvested, but and it's a little loud. All the fans are going right now, but yeah, this is probably 120 or 30 square feet, I think. It's not that big. We probably grow around 100 pounds of mushrooms a week out of this room, and then more like when we use our additional outdoor space, but we grow a lot just out of this small space, and it works really well for us. I mean, we're always struggling with keeping the equilibrium right. I feel like there's always like a fan that's broken or stuff like that we're always dealing with. We upgraded maybe last fall to this unit, which has been really helpful. That is a controller that controls the CO2, the temperature, and the humidity all in one thing. It's one of those, it's like from the weed grower stuff. Like they have great stuff like that. Yeah. So that has been really helpful because we used to have like 5 different sensors, one for each and all this stuff. It's like, I think it's called the Spartan.
Oh yeah, they have good timers.
Yeah.
Spartan.
It was worth it. I mean, it's like a $500 piece of equipment, but it runs everything now, like all together. So it's been really nice.
And it's all on sensors?
It's all on this one like mega sensor right there. So it's been working pretty good. But yeah, the CO2 is one of our biggest struggles because then when in the summer we cover up our intakes and exhausts with Rime. And it gets clogged with spores, and like the pollen this season was crazy, so they just get clogged up. It requires a whole nother level of maintenance to just keep them free, but because of the bug thing, it's like not willing to really take it off. But we end up just changing the Rime pretty often, like once a week, and I mean, we're still figuring it out. Sometimes I vacuum it, that helps, like just to get the spore out. I haven't figured out what the best thing is for it yet, but
I love this waterproof little bucket.
Yeah, the Rubbermaid is working good. We do have actually, where our electricity wiring like fritzed out in here on Christmas, and it's actually still out. We haven't had time to fix it, so we're running on like a hope and an extension cord right now. The whole room. We had, I think it's so wet in here, and by far not a qualified electrician, so we definitely got some moisture somewhere, so we need to figure out where the problem is with the wiring, or maybe have an electrician friend come over. But yeah, this This is.
And for
everything.
humidity, you're using
This has got. We have 2 big floating. So we have actually 18 discs in here altogether. We have 2 9-disc of the ultrasonic foggers, and this barrel has been great. That was an upgrade for us. We used to do it in like a smaller tote, and it had to be refilled really often. This has been really nice. That's what we're doing. We switched to using the oxine for cleaning, like all the time, and that has helped tremendously with just keeping all the funk at bay in the room.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
You can do that with the blocks in here.
Yeah, the oxine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't take the blocks out when we clean just because we don't have anywhere to put them.
Yeah.
But we just kind of, we'll even like wipe down the surface of them, of the plastic bags themselves, just like when we're doing we'll do the walls and like give the blocks and the shelves like a quick wipe down.
Yep.
And it allows for a good inspection of like what's going on in here. We have been dealing with the bacterial problem that I sent you that picture of, which we've been really trying to weed out. I guess you can't see it much because we've been kicking it out really intensely. You can kind of see it here a little bit. This isn't that bad at all, but we've had it really bad.
Right.
This area, like, we lost a lot of yield in the last few weeks because we've been just really intense about taking any pinning that has it just out of here right away.
Yeah.
Because we were getting it, but I think the bugs are spreading it.
Right.
You know, because we have fruit flies in here and stuff that actually all the air goes through. So we did like we actually steamed up, like we let some higher concentration oxine get misted all up into the pipes for like 15 minutes or so, and I think that's helping. I'm not sure, but it's definitely noticeable. We had like a bit of, it was very noticeable, the difference of the oxine versus like anything else. We ran out of it for a few weeks, and by probably the second week of not having it, like I came in here one morning and I was like, oh my god, it smells so bad. Yeah. It's like it shouldn't smell bad in here. Like the mushrooms smell like funky, but not bad.
Right.
It's like if it smells fishy, it's like something really wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're really growing in every nook and cranny. This winter it was like, yeah, we could fit one more rack. Yeah, we could fit. It was like, yeah, what about right back here?
Yeah, easy.
But yeah, this is our Shiitake rack in here. We've had like some issue, like I was saying, with some poorly myceliated Shiitake blocks.
Right.
So we're fruiting them anyways, just because we're kind of desperate. But I can't wait until we get through that batch to our brown blocks. And we have like a sneaky little rack back in there. It's like in our little nook, the Shiitake nook back there. So
yeah, you can see how much better the brown.
oh my god, they're
blocks
just
get.
amazing. The brown ones are just like, they get covered completely.
Yeah.
They're so great. Yeah, I'll show you these bags we have when we go out to the shade tunnel, because we have a bunch of like really badly colonized bags out there that I'm just gonna open just because we have the space, like just to get something.
Yeah. Just give me a mushroom.
Just give me something. We got some orders to fill. Let's do it. But it's not ideal, for sure. But yeah, that's what's going on in here. We're growing in the grow room, and it definitely got too hot for it, and it just was like stubby and slow and not growing and taking up so much space. And I think I had like a contaminated bag of lion's mane that I threw down here on a pallet just to experiment with, and then I forgot about it. I came back and it had this giant perfect lion's mane. Oh, cool. So then we cleared out all the bags that were funky in the grow room and brought them down here, which up till today had a shade cloth on them. Now everything's getting toasted in the sun because we're in the middle of moving to the new shade tunnel. Yeah. So we had to take the shade cloth off from here. I might put one on here tomorrow, but it is crazy how well they did down here. It's making me want to experiment with growing them. Wow. Maybe even in the summer. I don't know if it's cool enough in the shade, because you can actually see how like over here is like this really sad lion's mane that was not happy in the grow room. And then when I brought it down here, it's just growing new, beautiful stuff right on top.
Wow.
I mean, there's obviously bugs, but they're fine.
What is this Leighton Banks strain?
I actually don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
It's a cap and stem strain. I don't remember which. I'll look it up later when we go in to the cooler. But yeah, it's amazing. They've just been like so happy, and like there's more coming out right now.
Yeah.
And I just harvested probably like 10 pounds down here of this stuff.
Yeah, there's something just fruiting outside.
Yeah, it's just happy. Yeah, it just knows that I'm not faking it. It's like, they're like, I don't like it in this room. Stop pretending. Yeah, they're like perfect.
And have you noticed any bug issues with the lion's mane?
I mean, not really. I've been keeping an eye out. Like, I mean, I know like last year even in my grow room I had like fungus gnats in them. And so I had to watch out for like the worms if I was selling it.
Right.
But so far I haven't noticed a big problem. I mean, there's definitely a lot of bugs down here. And like you can see the ones that are totally gnarly.
Yeah.
But like this guy, you know, I mean, he's just so happy. It's pretty wild. But it's really interesting seeing these like zombies grow on top of the sad grow room ones. You know, it's like this one, you can see like underneath the like really tight cauliflowered grow room stuff. And then as soon as it comes out here, it's thrilled. But I haven't seen like slugs on them. The slugs love the shiitakes for sure. But yeah, we threw some of those like poorly colonized bags out here, and you can see them. Some of them just didn't even pin; they just like fuzz out like that.
It's almost like something else.
Yeah.
On them.
I don't actually. Have you seen them do this before? Because I've seen quite a few of our shiitake blocks do this, and I think it's just them. Because I don't know if it's something else on. Well, I guess in this case it could be.
I think there's like.
It's like a surface thing.
Yeah. It makes me think of gray mold.
Right.
There's also the cotton web. Or spider web mold. See how there's like little pins on the.
Oh yeah.
Top of the mycelium.
Yeah.
I think that's like maybe. Like spore. Spores coming out.
Yeah.
I think it's a mold of some sort.
Yeah, I've definitely had a few that got overtaken by whatever that is. It's obviously successful at what it's doing. So yeah, this is kind of our like infirmary, and if I'm not careful, the chickens will just get to all of it. So the remay is really just to keep the chickens off.
Yeah.
And we had this totally.
The chickens.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can see over here, they just like destroyed. I mean, these blocks were really bad.
Oh yeah, they eat the blocks?
Yeah, plus our chickens are like kind of trained on eating the blocks because they eat our compost. They're like all over our compost, which is great and we love. But they don't know the difference between the blocks we're growing on. And the blocks we throw away. Yeah, they love it. It's amazing. They're a great nitrogen source for our compost. I love it when they're over there.
Just like, natural.
Yeah, just doing their thing.
I wonder if they're mainly looking for bugs inside the blocks, or if they're...
They also pick out the grain. I see them hunting for the bits of oats in there.
Yeah.
They love hunting out all the little grain bits. But yeah, in the compost they're definitely looking for bugs, like especially when I just was turning some compost over today, and as soon as you open some up, you know, they come in there looking for all the bugs.
Right.
But yeah, they love it.
Cool.
I feel like we don't really in the summer have to feed them much because they just have so much action going on all around here. So it's like so sad. They scraped the topsoil off completely and put this weird riding fill in. So I've been building soil for a few years now for our raised beds and stuff. But I guess the one advantage is that it was flat and well draining. So we were like, I guess this is a good place to put a tunnel.
Yeah.
So this guy is gonna have plastic. We were just finishing it up really yesterday, and we were like, wait a minute, we should just wait and not put the plastic up. Why make it so hot in here? So just threw this shade cloth up today. We're still trying to figure out how it's gonna line up. I think I might need to get some more because we get the afternoon light in here. I'm not sure how much things will dry up. I'm also gonna plant some shade screening to help with keeping this place shaded. It's like the opposite of what people do with their greenhouses.
Right.
It's like trying to figure out how to make it as shady as possible. But
is it like 80%?
This is 90% actually. Which I wasn't sure which to get, but it's definitely seems great.
Yeah.
The denser the better. And yeah, we're just gonna, this is like a prototype. We were trying to figure out our racks in here, but we're just gonna be doing shiitake blocks, and this will probably be, we're thinking to do it 2, maybe 3 high if it's safe.
Cool.
So we're just trying to figure out our materials just now. But yeah, these bags, like they just came out so badly. I'm not sure why, except for maybe it got too hot or something, or too cold. Have you experienced that?
Where it just doesn't brown at all?
Yeah, and also so splotchy, like the bald spots.
Yeah, it's interesting. I would think a coloring would like, or a temperature change would initiate like a pinning or something.
Yeah.
More. So it feels like, it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah,
I wonder
right.
about spawn expansion.
Yeah, right.
3, 6.
Yeah, because like those should be ready now.
Yeah.
But like, so they're not really gonna do anything else, so we just kicked them out of there.
Yeah.
It's like they're not getting any browner or any fuller.
Okay, but I guess that's it.
Yeah, so it was weird. They were in that back corner of the incubation room, and there was not a lot of air movement in there. I didn't have my like rotating fan on this much in the winter. I don't know if it got just like really hot back there, and
like super high CO2.
Maybe, yeah, it could have been really high CO2.
I've had bags like basically brown outside of the bag.
Oh wow.
Like once I've removed the bag, then they start to fully brown.
Whoa.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if that happens with these.
Yeah. So far the bad, like the poorly brown bags, like the ones you saw in the grow room too, like anytime I've opened those, they do fruit some, but just not as good. But I haven't noticed them brown up. But it'd be interesting to see what they do outside.
Yeah.
It might be different out here than in the grow space. For sure. They're gonna love this air out here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And so these are cinder blocks and then like a metal
and
conduit.
then just 1/2-inch metal conduit. Just like keeping it really modular because we're not sure what we're gonna do in here yet. But definitely the plan is to have at least half of this greenhouse have a center row and then probably 2 on the sides. And then we're gonna lay a bunch of wood chips down here and probably play around with growing, we'll probably inoculate wood chips on the ground down here, and maybe even put in some plants to help with keeping moisture in here. Just thinking about doing some research on some like shade-loving, fast-growing plants in here.
Cool.
Just help hang on to any moisture we can.
That'll be such a fun intercropping.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. And we'll get the plastic up here in time for the end of summer probably. And then it's going to be really an experiment of seeing how long into the season can we kind of push this, because we don't have electricity or water out here we never have electricity out here, but water we kind of have to shut off once it starts freezing outside because it's just running on a garden hose.
Right.
But I'm really just going to experiment with it this winter. I think we might block off half of it with like a wall just to, and like maybe experiment with having some hot compost in here, or maybe even burying a barrel of water in some compost just to have water in here if we were going to kind of push the season.
Yeah.
We were thinking about trying to make this space at least usable to like Christmas maybe, and then sort of decommissioning it for the coldest months. But we're just going to mess around. But
seems very possible, especially with shiitake.
Yeah.
Like shiitake or black oysters. Like, they just love the cold and
totally
just keep fruiting.
Yeah, as long as I can just get them some water sometimes. That's the biggest challenge for us, is like how to keep water out here without like hauling like carts of water in the cold or something.
Right.
So I'm really thinking about getting one of those, what are those called? Like the IBC big square totes, and just like burying it in compost and keeping it out here.
Yeah.
And like maybe just like a little battery water pump or something, so we could spray, you know, water stuff and leave it out here.
Cool.
A friend of mine was telling me, who does like a lot of off-grid living, and he said they even sell these like thermal blankets that are fit to those big IBC totes.
Wow.
Which seems like a pretty sweet thing.
Yeah.
Because I think we're pretty just making this work without any infrastructure really.
Right. It's great. And the mushrooms, like the lines, man, love it.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just going to play around with it and see what we can get away with, and, you know, probably grow some winter spinach and,
cool.
You know, just play around with intercropping. It's really so much fun. And we're not selling other vegetables right now, but just for our home use, it's fun to have around.
Yeah.
Feeding friends and neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know. But yeah, we're very excited about this. This is going to be a big upgrade for us.
It's kind of fun too. You're growing mushrooms, and then you're like building the soil for in here. Like that's going to then become the soil for...
Totally. We've got a really awesome closed loop going on right now. I actually just brought over some really nice compost that we're going to grow some sweet potatoes and some hot compost. Cool. Which is a fun experiment. And we're also doing over here, you can't really see much coming up yet, but we're doing some cover crop experiments. We're collaborating with an artist friend on a project she's got called the Carbon Sponge. Just doing all this like data collection in the city, and then now up here on like different plots with all these different treatments for cover crop seeds, and seeing how it builds and retains carbon and stuff in the soil. But so we're doing a lot of fun experimenting mostly around here.
Yeah.